Why do you guys stack the odds against yourselves? I see so many men with so much potential, spark in their eyes, in their spirit, natural intelligence, talented, gifted, and the lack of results and progress truly is just simply from self-inflicted wounds. And I've been there myself too. I've been that guy for many, many years in my life. How long, think about this, how long are you going to keep repeating the same year over and over and over and over again and trying to convince yourself that you're actually progressing, that that's actually life? I've been recently putting together a virtual summit for the fourth time in an industry that I'm in. And I've been reconnecting with speakers that I haven't talked to in a few years. And just connecting on a personal level, catching up. And it astounds me how many conversations I have where I haven't talked with somebody for 4 or 5 years. And they talk about the last 4 or 5 years in their business, in the industry, and how they've had 5 years of progression or growth. But when I look at the numbers, when I distill it down to where were they 4 or 5 years ago to where they are now, they've simply repeated the same year 4 times, 5 times. No progression, no elevation. And do you know why we keep repeating the same year over and over and over and over again? Why we stay in this rut of mediocrity? We stack the odds against ourselves. Self-inflicted wounds. In a much longer video on this channel, I've shared the idea of inevitability thinking. I first heard this from Eben Pagan years ago, and I think he credited a gentleman by the name of Bob Berg, maybe, who wrote a book, I think, that was called Inevitability Thinking, I think. However, the concept of inevitability thinking entered my consciousness over a decade ago. And it's one of those thoughts where for me at least, once I heard it, and saw it, right, mentally, understood it intellectually, you can't unsee it and unhear it. It's one of those things, at least for me. The premise of inevitability thinking is this. Get clear on the goal or the outcome you want, let's say for the next 12 months, and then ask yourself, what do my habits and process and actions need to look like such that if I simply stick to them, I will inevitably accomplish my desired outcome or goal? See, we as humans absolutely suck at timelines. I'm convinced of this from myself and the observation of men I work with, thousands of clients that I've worked with as B2B clients in the industries I've been in. We absolutely suck at timelines. Oh, I'll get abs in 6 weeks, right? Oh, I'll double my income in 90 days. Oh, we're going to accomplish this in the next 12 months. And I think one of the reasons why we suck at timelines is because we don't know what we don't know by default, because we haven't done the thing yet. And so we don't know all the little surprises we're going to run into. And also, we're making assumptions of how we're going to get to the goal based upon our current level of understanding, which by default means we don't understand yet 100% how to get to the goal, because you only have all the understanding you need once you've accomplished the goal. And so, yes, you do want to have some sense of a timeline connected to your goal. I'd like to get to X by Y time, and I'm going to do Z thing. However, so often, the timeline doesn't get met. In the previous videos, I've also talked about this, is where you want to do periodization. Take 4, 8, 12 weeks and over-index on one thing. A common way of thinking is go 10x, right? Go 10x effort on one thing for a shorter period of time and try to accomplish in 12 weeks what you thought you would do in 12 months. That'll actually, one of the reasons why that works so well is because you cycle through all the I don't know what I don't know things much faster, right? And so you get that escape velocity quicker. But the big idea here for this video is we so often stack the odds against ourselves and inflict 1,000 wounds on ourselves by simply not getting clear on where we want to go and then not getting clear on what is a plan of action, habits, structure, and efforts, such that if I just stick with this, inevitably, by default, I will get that outcome. Personal example, and I'll wrap this up. I've done 75 hard five times. And the last time that, the second before last time that I did it, so this would be the fourth time, I did it, finished it, had significant progression in my physique. But what I decided to do was just to keep living 75 hard. Because I still didn't have the goal physique that I wanted. I'd made significant improvement in those 75 days, but I didn't have the goal that I wanted, right? I wanted to see veins in my lower abs. I wanted to be walking around with a visible six-pack without flexing. And so I said to myself, you know, Andre, if you didn't stack the odds against yourself by now drinking 2, 3, 4 times a week, pigging out here and there, thinking that won't hurt you, right? Getting a little bit sloppier and loose with the macros, with the nutrients, with the working out. You know, if you just stuck with this, because look at how much progression you've made in the last 75 days. You know, if you just stuck with this, maybe it's in a month, maybe it's in 3 months, maybe it's in 9 months, but if you just stick with it, hey, light bulb, you'll eventually get to the outcome. As one of my favorite jokes goes with my boys, I like to say, hey, if you use logic, you can come to a conclusion. Big idea. And so I did. I just kept living the 75 hard lifestyle. I literally kept living 75 hard every day after 75 days. And guess what? About 4 or 5 months later, so basically another 75 hard and a half, I was walking around with veins in my lower abs, six-pack visible. At 36 years old is when I achieved that peak physique, and that was the best physique I've ever had in my entire life. Natural, never done steroids, but the best physique I ever attained in my life was at 36 years old, which means it's doable, right? But the idea that I approached it with is, what's my goal? Get clear on that. You got to get crystal clear. Then 2, what is a process, structure, actions, and habits I'm going to adhere to and stay aligned with, aka congruence, that I know if I just stay congruent with this, inevitably, I don't know when, I think I know when, I'll guess when I know when, but inevitably, I will get that outcome if I just stick to this, if I stay aligned with this set of structure, habits, actions, things I do and things I don't do, right? And that's it. And what are we doing there when we do this, when we do the inevitability thinking? What did I do when I said, well, look, I've made all this progress on 75 hard for the 4th time that I've done it. I do it regularly and then I slide off. What if this time I just did it, just kept doing it? What I fundamentally did there was I stacked the odds in my favor. Inevitability thinking is simply stacking the odds in your favor. Now look at your life. You. Look at where you say you want to be, the goals you say you want to have, and then ask yourself, In what ways am I stacking the odds against myself ever achieving this outcome? Eliminate those things. Add in things that you believe based upon your current level of understanding will get you the outcome and goal that you have. And then just don't stop until you get the goal, the outcome. You inevitably will. It is universal law, right? So stop stacking the odds against yourself, and for once, start stacking them in your favor.